Glad you could all join us here for this January 27th, 2025 Alpharetta City Council meeting and public hearing. Before I call the meeting to order, I just want to make an announcement for anyone here who may be here for the published zoning issue MP-24-09/CU-24-12/V-24-28 Alpharetta Hotel Holdings, LLC. The applicant has deferred that item, so if you're here for that, you might be able to save yourself some time this evening. So I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I'll note that all members of council are present and accounted for, except for Councilman Dorito, who would not be able to join us this evening. As always, we begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you're willing and able, please stand and join us. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first up this evening, we have a proclamation, and the proclamation is for the Alpharetta High School Cyber Patriot Club. If the Cyber Patriots would like to join us up front. So who would like to speak on behalf of this excellent group?
The sponsor. Good evening, everybody. Anne-Marie, this amazing student sponsor, the great student. We're from Alpharetta High School. This is a great group of kids that's been working very hard. Most of them are going to college next year. And we would also like to thank the city of Alpharetta for creating this opportunity for them.
That's awesome. Would either of you like to say anything?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yashwant Khandra, and I'm a co-founder and co-president of Alfred High School Cyber Patriot. And we're very honored to receive this proclamation award, and really grateful to the mayor and the city of Alpharetta for giving us a chance for this recognition, basically. And so Cyber Patriot is basically a club where, I'm sorry. So Cyber Patriot is basically a national cybersecurity organization that is designed to help students pursue careers in cybersecurity or other STEM-related fields, basically. And then we started this club back in August 2023, and then over the years there was a significant growth and stuff. And then we have also expanded our outreach by starting a Cyber Patriot program, youth program in Webbridge Middle School, and then to teach basically the young aspiring students the knowledge of cybersecurity and then other STEM-related topics. And Jay, you want to say anything else?
Thank you, Yash. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Shrenisho Kumar, and I'm the other co-founder and co-president of Alpharetta Cyber Patriot. So what we mainly do in Cyber Patriot is we compete in the National Youth Cyber Defense Competition. And to prepare our members for that competition, we teach our members about various operating systems, we teach them about several terminal commands, we teach them how to identify security issues, and we also teach them how to fix those issues. And as far as the competition, our club has done pretty decent so far. Last year, one of our teams placed second in Georgia in the state round of the competition, and this year, one of our teams placed fourth in Georgia, and another placed first in Georgia for the state round of the competition. And we're also currently ranked top 30 in the country for gold tier for the final round of the competition. But Cyber Patriot isn't just about competing in some big competition and winning awards, right? It really is about sparking a passion for cybersecurity. With artificial intelligence inching towards singularity and AGI every single day, and quantum computing on the horizon, cybersecurity has never been more important. We're very proud of how far Cyber Patriot has come, and we're extremely grateful for this award. Thank you, everyone.
Well put. And I'm sure you probably know that the city of Alpharetta has over 900 technology companies in our city, and every one of them is trying to find talented cybersecurity professionals. So before you leave, that gentleman in the far right corner is our IT director. Brilliant man, and make sure you drop off a resume on your way out this evening, okay? Thank you. You owe me one. That being said, I'll read this proclamation. It's a proclamation by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Alpharetta High School Cyber Patriot Club, whereas in 2023, Alpharetta High School founded the Cyber Patriot Club. The club's membership has grown to over 40 students who share a passion for cybersecurity and STEM, science, technology, and engineering, and mathematics. For those who may not be aware, the foundation of the club is to encourage students to exemplify leadership and creativity while pursuing a commitment to advancing cybersecurity education, and whereas members gain hands-on experience solving real-world cybersecurity challenges, such as identifying vulnerabilities in operating systems, configuring firewalls, and defending cyber attacks during the simulation exercises. And whereas Alpharetta High School regularly competes in the Air Force Association's Cyber Patriot program, in 2023, the club placed second in the state round for the Gold Division, and 2 teams advanced to the Elite Platinum Division for the semifinal round. During the 2024 season, one club earned first place, while another team earned 5th place in the state round for the Gold Division in the National Youth Cyber Defense Competition. And whereas this month, this club will launch its first Cyber Patriot Youth program at Webbridge Middle School to introduce younger students to the fundamentals of cybersecurity through workshops, hand-on activities, and competition-style challenges. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, do hereby recognize and appreciate the efforts of the Alpharetta High School Cyber Patriot Club. So proclaimed this 27th day of January 2025 by the mayor and city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Congratulations, gentlemen and dear leader. So next up, we have a few appointments to make for boards and commissions. First one will be the Cultural Arts Commission appointment by Mayor Gilvin, myself, and I'd just like to announce that I'm appointing Luis Gonzalez to our Cultural Arts Commission. Luis, you are here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and do the appointments, and then we'll do all the swearing in at the same time. Okay? Thank you for being here. Didn't see you earlier. I believe we also have an appointment from Councilman Hypes.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'm pleased to announce my appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission of Kristen Colby. Kristen is here. Kristen comes with support from the Historic Society here locally, and she walks the talk when it comes to historic house preservation. I'm very excited to add her to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you, sir. And I believe for the third round of appointments, we need a resolution for the Development Authority reappointments. We have a motion from council. Oh, I believe we have a resolution that must be read by our city attorney, Ms. Eswine.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to reappoint 4 members of the Alpharetta Development Authority in order to fill expiring terms, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Do we have any questions from council? Do we have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion tonight to approve the resolution to Development Authority reappointment. Consideration of adoption of a resolution to reappoint Jill Bernard, Sean Allen, Morgan Smith, and John Goss to the Alpharetta Development Authority.
Do we have anyone that would like to speak on these appointments? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote. I'm not. Can you push my button for me, please? I was trying to save us some time. Sure. I got you. Thank you, sir. What's the result? I'm just dying to find out. Is it voted unanimous? Congratulations, everyone. Thank you. We appreciate your service to the city of Alpharetta. Now, if we would invite all of those new appointees or reappointees to come forward. So we do this to save time, and it can be a little confusing, but that's why each of you have the oath right in front of you. So I'll read a part, and then all of you at the same time either insert your name or your position or whatever. But that way we can all get through it without having to do this 6 different times for everyone. Fair enough? All right. So this is the oath of office for the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
Jill Bernard.
Hereby accept the honor of serving as a board member of the
Authority of Alpharetta, Georgia.
of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due to this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
I am qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and the laws of Georgia, and I shall support the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America.
The state wants to make sure you don't owe them money before we swear you in. I am qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. Oh, y'all read past me then.
We were past you.
You see? Okay. Where'd y'all stop? At I shall appear?
No, further, I solemnly
Further, I do solemnly swear and affirm that I shall
faithfully perform the duties of the Development Authority member, regularly attend meetings, uphold the ideas of community and service, act and conduct business in accordance with the city's code of ethics and conduct, and support the charter and laws of the city of Alpharetta.
so sworn this 27th day of January 2025. Y'all already said that part too? Okay, man, y'all are quick. So congratulations. We are grateful for your service. Many people don't understand that although we do have 450 employees in the city of Alpharetta, much of the work that is done behind the scenes is by our volunteers and our boards and our commissions. And we are grateful for their service.
Thank you so much.
So next item up on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of the City Council meeting minutes from the meeting of January 6, 2024, the financial management report from the month ending November 30th, 2024, conflict waiver for the City of Alpharetta and the City of Milton for North Fulton Emergency Medical Response Oversight Committee, the quitclaim deed for Builder Support Services, Inc. in the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, in Hampton Hall subdivision, the right-of-way warranty deed for Hawthorne subdivision. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening? Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to comment on the consent agenda, now's your chance. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hypes, second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So now we'll move on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. If you have the printed agenda, you'll notice that that first item, as I mentioned earlier, has been deferred by the applicant, will not be heard tonight. So we'll move on to item B on your printed agenda, and that's the announcement of public hearing procedures.
An individual requesting to be heard on a matter related to the purpose of the hearing must be recognized by the mayor before addressing the city council. Upon rising to speak, the speaker must identify himself or herself and furnish a home or business address before proceeding with any comments or remarks. The council will allow the proponents a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition. Comments are accepted first from the applicant, followed by persons speaking in favor, and then from those in opposition. Upon conclusion of any opposing comments or presentations, the mayor will allow the applicant to offer a rebuttal if any time is remaining in the originally allotted 10 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Eswine. So we will go ahead and proceed with the first item. First item is Z-25-01/CU-25-01, the shipping post /312 North Main Street. Mr. Woodman, I believe you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing item before you this evening is a request for rezoning and conditional use to allow for the reuse of an existing structure for a print shop. Property is 0.6 acres and it is located in the downtown. Rezoning is requested from O&I Office Institutional to DTLW Downtown Live Work, and a conditional use is requested to allow a print shop for the shipping post. I have the location map on the overhead. This property is located at 312 North Main Street. This property was developed in 1940. It's developed with a one-story, about 1,300 square foot structure that was originally used for a single-family home and converted to a commercial use. The comprehensive land use designation of the property is mixed-use live-work. That does support the requested rezoning and use. The applicant's business is called The Shipping Post. It's a printing and shipping store similar to FedEx Office Print and Shipping Center or the UPS store. According to the applicant's letter of intent, the business offers a variety of services, including packing and shipping, printing and copying, passport photos, notary services, mailbox rentals, and computer rentals. The applicant does have an existing location in City of Cumming, and this would be the applicant's second location for his business. He does anticipate a total of 4 employees for this business, and hours of operation would be Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, 12 to 4 p.m. This is the survey of the property here. The structure, North Main Street, sits here. There's an existing one-way drive into the property. Behind the structure is a parking area. This parking area currently is not striped. It's about 3,000 square feet. The downtown code would require 3 parking spaces for this business, but approximately up to 10 parking spaces could be striped off within this parking lot. The applicant's proposal does not include any tree removal, so he's not asking to add any additions to the existing building or do anything on the property except for striping the parking lot. The applicant did indicate that he had some future plans to upgrade the windows on the structure, replace the roof, and to expand the driveway access to allow for two-way traffic. We reviewed the review criteria for rezoning and conditional use. We believe that the rezoning request to rezone to DTLW is consistent with the future land use designation of the property, that it would not adversely affect adjacent or nearby properties. It is consistent with the development pattern that we see along North Main Street. We believe the print shop, which is a mom and pop type business, would add to the variety of retail service offerings in the downtown. Also noted with the conditional use criteria about similar uses, we noted that there's a few print and shipping stores in the city. I mentioned some before, the UPS store, FedEx Office and Print, as well as Staples. The UPS store is the closest similar business that's located in the Alpharetta Crossing Shopping Center at 11770 Haynesbridge Road. It's about a mile south of the applicant's proposed location. The applicant did provide a citizen participation report indicating that they did not receive any public comments. And then the item was shown to the public at the December 11th Community Zoning Information Meeting. There was one public comment in support of the applicant's request. And then the request was considered by Planning Commission at their January 9th meeting. There were no public comments at that meeting. And Planning Commission recommended approval of the applicant's request subject to staff's recommended conditions, and there were 17 conditions as outlined in the staff report in your packets. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Woodman? Mr. Woodman, I was just trying to search through here. The only concerns I had about this were the parking, because it did note in staff's report that there were 3 available spots. And I know you mentioned more available. Do we have a condition requiring that
so
striping?
one of the conditions, condition number 15, states that the existing parking lot shall be restriped as approved by staff. Now, if you would like, you can certainly add a particular number. I know
I'd kind of like to condition, not that they just paint the stripes, but that this business provide 10 parking spaces.
Okay.
Just, is that acceptable to everyone? Either way, I mean, I'm fine. I think, and if he's wanting to do the egress double lanes, I'd like to condition that too, just so it's formalized.
You
said that we're going to make it
in and out on the driveway. I don't believe. Let's see. I just wanted to see if I had anything regarding the driveway. I do not believe there was anything in there regarding the driveway. I can confirm that while the applicant's up. Definitely on condition number 15, if you would like to add the 10 parking spaces, that would be the condition to add it to. And the parking, I did look at the existing paved parking area, and it could accommodate 10 spaces.
That's fine. Like I said, and we can ask the applicant when he comes forward about.
All right.
Councilman Hypes?
Mr. Woodman, on that point, this is a rezone to a downtown
Live work.
Live work. So I looked at the comprehensive land use plan, and that's the direction we want to take North Highway 9 according to the land use plan. Is that correct?
Yes, it's.
But under the land use, or excuse me, under the zoning parking requirements, if 3 is all that's required, but we recognize that if you've got 2 employees there and 2 customers, 3 parking spaces isn't enough, is the direction we want to take that North Highway 9 in terms of zoning, is our parking ordinances in line with what we're trying to accomplish?
We could certainly have that conversation and look at that. I mean, you bring up a great point. There's not a lot of public parking facilities as we get away from the core of downtown.
Correct.
So it's a great point that you're bringing up.
I don't want to get too far afield from what the applicant's here to do, but because it's before council right now, I would appreciate it if we could look at that and revisit what the parking requirements are for downtown live work if we're going to take North Highway 9 in that direction per the land use plan.
We can certainly do that.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman? Thanks, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Yeah, my name is Siva Doraisamy. I live in Milton, 2143 McFarlane Lane, Milton, Georgia, 3004, and happy to be here.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, sir. So, I mean, yeah, I've been living here about 10, 12 years or so, and I typically, I drive to, I have a couple of other businesses in Cumming, and I typically drive the same direction every day. I never thought I could own a property here. It's a dream come true. So I'm happy to hear, and I want to be here in Alpharetta. It's a growing city, and my business is much more unique, even though we compare with the UPS and FedEx. What I provide is a service. What they have is more of a brand that they can demand. So in my case, I have to bend backwards to accommodate the customer so that I can grow. My pricing is going to be very difficult to beat with FedEx pricing. I still grow because of my service. So there's a lot of demand for the service, and my uniqueness is that I can take UPS and FedEx and do notary and copies and all in one place. So my service is much more unique, and as you can see, you get a package from FedEx and you get a package from UPS. And if you want to return, you have to go to 2 different places. In my situation, you can come to one place and you can drop off both packages, or you can both. I can also compare with FedEx and UPS and ship it wherever it's cheaper and whatever makes sense for the customer. So my service is definitely unique, and it is definitely needed for the community. And I'd love to be here. This is going to be my dream place. And if I own this place, it's going to be my definitely dream.
Thanks, sir. Do you have any questions for the applicant? I would just like to ask you about the 2 points we discussed. Would you be okay if we made it a condition that you did provide the 10 parking spaces and the 2 in and out access lanes?
Yes, sir. 2 in and out is definitely needed for me. If you were to look at it, right, a customer coming in, and if they have to wait for, it's going to back up the traffic. So.
Not on Highway 9. That's why those were the only 2 points that I really had of concern.
True, sir. I mean, the only thing I don't know whether I really wanted to part of the zoning exercise, because the way I'm thinking is that that's going to be pretty much DOT approving it. I had to work with the DOT and see how they wanted to. There is a fire hydrant there, and if you look at the picture, and I don't know where or how they're going to allow me to get in or expand the 2-way traffic. And definitely, for a business, I definitely need that. I don't know that, I don't want to tie that to the zoning, because right now, if they don't allow, I will have to live with that. And then there's a lot of other businesses who are in the same stage, who are still accommodating with the 1 lane traffic coming in. So I will have to figure it out how to accommodate the customer, or maybe put some. I see that next door dentist also has a 1-way going in. And they yield, whoever is coming in, whoever is going into the main street, they yield. So I have to come up with that, but just don't know whether I really wanted to add that part of the zoning approval, Because
Fair enough, I'm just asking because
I'm
to
with you,
me,
sir.
that's a pretty big
Yeah,
deal.
Exactly, because,
Because if I'm
it's-
zoning
if I
something
can-
that people may have to back out into Highway 9,
Yes, sir.
I'm not
I mean,
sure that I could
and
support
it's,
that.
it's not really a preferred approach, but it's just that if I have to spend the money to expand, I'm willing to do it. It's just that my hands are tied because the DOT has to do certain things, and they could take it for 2 years to 20 years. And if you tie that to me, then you're tying my hands and asking me to run a business.
I understand, that's fine.
So I will definitely do it because that's my intake, and that's how I can, because if there's a way to do it, I definitely want to do it, and it's just that I'm going to wait for DOT to approve.
Pete, do you have any concerns about having one turn in? I'm sorry, he's our Public Works Director. He's quite familiar with GDOT and their standards.
So I didn't know the DOT is here, so and so yes, sir. So this is the 312 North Main Street.
Can I look at the exhibit? See?
Yes, sir.
Is it one of, Mike, was it one of these exhibits?
Yeah, I get it.
Aerial will be perfect. I don't recall on the GDOT plan a median in that location for the widening. But it's the question that they're looking at for a full access, or?
I'm less concerned about whether there's a median or not. I'm more concerned about two vehicles being on that driveway at the same time and someone having to back up into Highway 9.
Okay, what's the width of the driveway, the existing driveway?
Right now, it's a one car going in, and in the picture you can see.
So it's going to propose to be a 24-foot wide driveway?
I don't know.
That's kind of my ask.
Google Street View, you can see the fire hydrant there. Yeah, so yeah, that you can't get two cars.
Okay.
And there's only hydrant there. That's what I was concerned about. So,
Okay.
so I mean, I definitely want to do it, and if DOT can help, that will be really helpful.
Okay.
So I'm going to work with them. But other than that, sir, I have no problem with that. And also about the parking, I could, I definitely have to have a lot of parking. If there's no parking, customer won't come in. If you cannot find a parking, right, how are you going to customer come in? So it is necessary for me to have a lot of parking, and so that customer come in, park it, and come to my shop. And sometime some of the task could take like 10-15 minutes. So people line up, right? Remember, you've been to UPS store, right? People line up back, and so I definitely want to have 10 parking, and I'm okay with that. If you want to add that, that's perfectly fine with me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to come and speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak against this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do we have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion this evening to approve Z-25-01/CU-25-01, the shipping post at 312 North Main Street, with the additional condition of the applicant shall stripe and maintain the asphalt on the property for 10 additional spaces.
Second. Second.
I heard a yelp over there. I just wasn't sure if it was second or not. So we do have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem to approve, second by Councilman Mitchell. Any discussion? I'll just say I'll probably vote for this, but I really struggle with that because I think that's a very dangerous situation. So I hope the applicant will take his best efforts to make sure that his customers are safe in that corridor. That being said, all those in favor of the motion, please vote accordingly. And the motion passes 5-1. Congratulations. Next item up on the agenda is CU-25-02, Kids Avenue, Stonewood Village. Mr. Woodman, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item before you is a request for conditional use to allow recreation facilities indoor for an 8,800 square foot space in an existing shopping center for Kids Avenue. Kids Avenue is described by the applicant as an indoor playground for children 0 to 8 years old. And I have the location map on the overhead. This property is located at 670 North Main Street in Suite 115B, and this is in the Stonewood Village Shopping Center. Property is zoned C1, neighborhood commercial. It's developed with a 110,000 square foot shopping center. The comprehensive land use plan designation of the property is commercial, which does support the applicant's proposal. The applicant's letter of intent indicates that Kids Avenue is an indoor playground and event space. The space features a miniature city with interactive and soft play areas. The applicant states that the focus of the business is to provide a space where children can learn, socialize, and develop essential life skills. The applicant does have one business location existing in Buckhead. The requested hours of operation would be Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the applicant anticipates 8 to 10 employees with this business. This is the site plan of the shopping center, North Main Street, Cogburn Road. On the far west end of the existing shopping center, Wellstar has a space along the storefront. Behind the Wellstar space is the applicant's requested space. Orkin owns this shopping center. They also own this undeveloped 4-acre parcel that is also commercially zoned. And we have had questions over the years from various folks interested in developing a shopping center or grocery store on this property. So right now, that property is vacant at the end of the shopping center, but the plan would be to eventually develop that with a continuation with commercial use. The shopping center has 564 parking spaces, and with the applicant's proposal, there is sufficient parking for all the uses within the development. So the side of the building here, I wanted to show you what that looked like and what it could look like. So this is the side of the building existing today. This is Wellstar's space here. And so the store frontage, storefront with the decorative elements and exterior materials does not continue around the corner currently. But this is a proposal that the applicant received from Orkin, the owner of the shopping center, for another use that was looking at this space. It was a children's dentist office. So this is not what the applicant is proposing, but Orkin is submitting. If this is approved, they will submit for design review board on behalf of this applicant to extend the store frontage along the side of the property. So they're extending these brick columns, adding awnings to create a storefront on the side of the building. And this is just a few views of what that could look like. Again, this is not what the applicant is proposing. They would submit that for design review board approval. We looked at the review criteria for the conditional use. We do not believe this proposal would adversely affect adjacent and nearby properties, which are developed with a variety of commercial uses. The nearest similar business with indoor recreation facility is Play Street Museum. That's located in the Alpharetta Crossings Shopping Center at 11770 Haynesbridge Road. It's about a mile and a half, a little more than a mile and a half south of this proposed location. Do believe the addition of an entertainment use to the shopping center would also draw additional customers and help the existing businesses within the center. The applicant did provide a citizen participation report indicating they received no public comments, and they showed this request to the public at the December 11th Community Zoning Information meeting, and there were no public comments at that meeting. At the January 9th Planning Commission meeting, there were no public comments, and Planning Commission recommended approval of the applicant's request subject to the 4 staff recommended conditions. And with the proposal on the side of the building, we are recommending 2 additional conditions, and I would like to read those, and I can place those on the overhead for you. We would recommend that you add 2 additional conditions. The first one states, exterior modifications to the side of the building shall be consistent with the existing storefront, subject to final approval by Design Review Board. So the materials and the architectural elements used on the storefront of the building should be wrapped around the side of the building, and there would be a consistent look with what you see on the storefront currently. The second additional condition says a designated sidewalk shall be provided along the side of the building, connecting the existing storefront sidewalk to the front entrance of the applicant's suite, subject to final approval by staff. A railing or similar device providing a protective barrier shall be used to buffer the sidewalk from the drive aisle. And just taking you back to the existing condition today, what we're looking for is this sidewalk along the front of the shopping center. The sidewalk would continue down the side of the building with a protected barrier between this drive aisle and that sidewalk. And that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Councilman Mitchell.
Michael, I like that additional suggestion of a protective barrier there, because there is a lot of traffic, trucks that go down there to service all the other businesses. What's the width of the alley there?
So I didn't get the exact width, but I know that it's closer to 30 feet. There was more than sufficient area for two-way travel through that area. What's important to note is that the curbing for this drive aisle here is right up against a treed area, which the property owner, Orkin, owns that property as well. So if needed, they would have to maintain at least a 24-foot travel lane to accommodate two-way traffic for deliveries at the rear of this development. But the developer or the owner of the shopping center has the ability to push that out further if need be to accommodate this sidewalk.
Okay. And you think just a railing that would go back there would be sufficient?
A railing or a protective barrier. And we did provide these 2 additional conditions to both the applicant as well as Orkin, and they were fine with the addition of those conditions. In fact, the Orkin as well as the applicant noted that the applicant actually requested as part of his lease that the developer add in some speed bumps.
Okay, so speed bumps.
Through
and
that area.
Another question is the signage and visibility for the new business. Surely it's not just on the side of the building. Is Wellstar going to share part of the tower or whatever?
I've not discussed signage with the applicant, but the applicant is here this evening.
Okay, I'll ask them. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady.
Yeah, just following on to resonate Councilman Mitchell's comments, more about traffic flow right there, because it is young kids, right, 0 to 8, be coming out, large groups, 8,000 square foot. You could have 100 coming out at the same time. We don't know, right? So the facade sounds great, the barrier sounds great, just there's no conditions on striping like we had last applicant or anything in there, drop-off zones. I'm just curious, and then you're mentioning an 18-wheel truck coming in and dropping off supplies in the back. All that cautions traffic flow, and how do we address that? So I'm just more curious, there's no conditions on striping, you say two-way, but how do people know at the end of the day, without any markings, that they can enter that space? Because I would see what happened. If I was a parent, I'd drop right up to that door and let my kids out, because that's the closest place and safety to exit the vehicle and into the place. But if they're walking down there, some do that and some don't, and some folks are coming in with traffic and some are walking through that. Is it pedestrian? Is it this? So those brings up all these different questions of what is the organization of that?
So the parking, and we did look at that too. We went out to the site just to make sure if we needed to put any conditions in regarding striping through the parking lot. So the parking actually ends at the edge of this building. So the parking that is in front of the Wellstar, there are striped pedestrian crosswalks from that parking to the sidewalk along the storefront here. So there is striping already connecting the parking lot to the storefront. The idea would be that the folks that are most likely going to park on this far end, and they would use that striping that's right just off this photograph that would take them to the Wellstar. They would continue around the corner.
So I'm not talking about the front of the building, because that entry is just for Wellstar, right? This applicant enters and exits from the side of the building. Is that correct?
Correct.
So where's the parking for them on the side of the building? From that corner back, where's the striping? Where's the parking spaces? Where's the traffic flow?
The parking for this unit would be the existing parking that's out front of the building. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman? Thanks, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hi, everyone. If you allow me a second to connect my computer. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Roy Shlomo, and I am the owner of Kids Avenue. Kids Avenue is a child-sized interactive city that combines educational learning experiences with lots of fun and play. The place is set up as a real city, and the kids can go between the shops and take on real-life experiences. As you can see in the picture, we have a bakery, hair salon, fire station, dentist office, grocery store. This is a little cabin. This is my daughter making me an egg sandwich in the bakery. This is her in the grocery store, construction site. And it's a very sensory concept. And because we have a lot more square footage, we can do a lot more this time. So I can show you some of the future props that's going to be there. That's going to be an auto shop inside. The kids can actually change the tires, oil change, air filters. We're going to have a little clinic. This is an MRI machine that you see here. That's a big fountain that's going to be in the center where the park is. These are the trees we're building for this concept. And these are the pictures that I have. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think the city of Alpharetta is a perfect second location for us, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you for considering Alpharetta as your second location. What about signage? have you spoken with Wellstar or Orkin about how you're going to get the signs up and where you're going to put those?
We're gonna have a pylon sign in the front, and then we're trying to get an elbow sign. When you make that right after Wellstar, we're gonna have an elbow sign facing the front.
Like a blade sign?
Yeah, like a blade sign.
Okay. All right, and you feel like that's sufficient? Because nobody ever drives, except for trucks and stuff.
Yes, I think it's gonna be just like the location we have right now in Buckhead. It's in the back of the building. The first time can be a little challenging to find it, but once you know where it is, it's gonna be much easier to find it. We actually prefer places with less visibility, especially when parents come to play with the kids. They don't usually want it facing the street that you can see inside. And so I think it actually works better for us.
Okay. And as far as kids accessing that, there's no parking on the side there. Have you approached Orkin about putting in spaces in part of that, the undeveloped area?
I did, and I also think zoning made it clear that there's not going to be any parking on the side, and I don't think there is a lot of space on the side. Right now, it's almost 40 feet wide, and is enough for 2-lane traffic, especially after we're going to build the sidewalk. So I don't think they'll be able to do more parking on the side. They'll have to park in the front and then use the crossroad and then take the sidewalk to walk to us.
Okay, and you're comfortable with the striping, and if it has striping and signage and things like that?
Yeah, we're
with
going
the
to have
railing.
an elevated sidewalk and then railing, and then I requested 2 speed bumps from the landlord, and they agreed to it.
Okay. I think there also needs to be signage there, slow children present or something like that. Because those delivery trucks aren't used to children walking back and forth there.
Yeah, and we can definitely propose some signage, like children crossing signage. I think that will be helpful as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilman Hypes?
Thank you for the application and presentation. I'm enjoying your website and your other location in Buckhead. When children come, are parents required to be on premises with the children the entire time they're there?
Yes, the parents have to be with the kids at all time.
Okay, so this wouldn't be a situation where I could drop off the grandkids and then come back in an hour or two and pick them up and somebody would be supervising them?
Yes, no, we don't provide this type of service. We are not a daycare or, it's more of a place that gives opportunity for parents to teach their kids about everyday roles in real life, and we just provided the environment to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Councilman Will?
Al Shea was a good point. Is that, and maybe this is for Michael as well, is that the access for the trucks to get around to the back of that building where your front door is going to be?
Yes, there are 2 ways. There is like a U-shaped road going behind the center, so trucks can come in from either way.
So how much, I didn't get a good clear picture of that. How much room is it between where your front door is going to be and where those trucks are going to be driving? I mean, I'm thinking semis are driving back there and making deliveries constantly.
The road itself is about almost 40 feet.
And the door's going to be... So how are we protecting these semis from coming around those corners with a bunch of kids coming in and out of there?
There's an elevated walkway.
And I understand that. I was bowling yesterday and kids were running into my lane. I'm not kidding, they were, and I was like, almost hitting kids with a bowling ball. Kids tend to not stay on sidewalks. That's a concern. Thanks.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak opposed to this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion tonight to approve CU-25-02 Kids Avenue, Stonewood Village, with the two conditions that were presented tonight by Michael Woodman. The additional conditions, sorry.
I'll second that, but I'd like to make a friendly amendment with that slow children crossing signs be added, and also the striping on the street to designate the in and out, and also where the sidewalk is, additional striping
Yeah, approve that.
to go along with the elevated sidewalk. and
I'll add
stuff.
that.
Thank you, then I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, vote yes. And it does pass 5-1. Congratulations. Good luck. So the next item up on the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting is the UDC third-party inspection report. Ms. Eswine, I guess we'll begin with you.
An ordinance by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend Article 4 of the Unified Development Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to add regulations pertaining to third-party inspections and plan review, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Ms. Eswine. We'll turn the floor over to Director Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. This next item before you is consideration of adoption of text amendments to Article 4, procedures to establish a program and procedures for third-party inspections and plan review. And this is in compliance with the State Act. So the State Act was actually passed in 2021. And honestly, at that time, we didn't think we would have many of the developers that were interested in doing third-party inspections. But we are seeing some interest, so we want to make sure that we have regulations in place and procedures that meet the state law that was passed in 2021. The State Act allows owners, developers, and contractors to submit inspection certifications by approved third-party inspectors and plan review affidavits by approved third-party plan reviewers to satisfy certain inspection and plan review requirements. And although we are seeing some interest for the third-party inspections, they're also allowed to get third-party plan reviewers, and I don't think any developer has found anybody willing to take on that plan review responsibility, because internal plan review at the local level, of course, there's a lot of zoning regulation that you have to review, a lot of council conditions, so it's very difficult to have a third-party plan reviewer. However, there are regulations that allow for third-party inspectors. There's different certifications that they can garner, of course, and be able to perform those third-party inspections. So what we're setting up with this ordinance would be the regulations that require that the third-party inspectors apply. There's an application process. We actually establish a list of providers that are meeting the requirements that we have within the code. We also state with these regulations that there is a convenience fee, and the reason that there's a convenience fee is because we are able to offer the turnaround that's needed for inspections. So the state law requires that, it states that if you cannot provide an inspection within 2 days, that a third-party inspector can be used, and you only have to pay the municipality 50% of the fees. However, if that municipality can meet the 2-day turnaround, you can also establish a convenience fee. So basically, since we are able to provide that service within 2 days, this ordinance would require that fees are the same as if they're using city inspectors or using third-party inspectors. The ordinance also establishes different criteria if there's a violation. If violations, multiple violations, then we could actually suspend a third-party inspector from inspections within the city of Alpharetta. And lastly, it also establishes which board they would attend if there's an appeal. So if we suspend a third-party inspector, the board that they would appeal would be the Board of Appeals. So this is just establishing those processes since the state of Georgia already has regulations requiring that we accept third-party inspectors. But I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about the proposed ordinance.
Councilman Will.
Ms. Cook, for clarity, you've led me to believe that we are the ones that have to choose and approve the inspectors. Is that correct, the third-party inspectors?
We would like to do that. So this would allow us to go ahead and establish a list of approved inspectors. They would apply, there would be a process, and we would keep that list.
However, we have had this situation come up already, if I'm not mistaken, where somebody has used a third-party inspector. And if we haven't got this approved at this point, that means there's another list somewhere that they can get a hold of and use?
No, since we did have a group that wanted to use third-party inspectors and we didn't have a process in place, we had to accept the third-party inspector information that they gave us. It was immediate. We found out, a week before that they needed the inspection. So we didn't have that time to process and prepare for the permitting process. So we want to make sure that we're ready if there's another group that wants to use a third party.
So I just want to be clear, if we pass this, the third parties can't go to someplace else, get certified, and then just give us, and to just insert themselves into our process. They would have to be one of ours?
No, they would have to go through our process. We would have to review their credentials.
Okay, which is...
If I can jump in. So what the state law requires or contemplates is a pre-qualification. So any of the people who possess the credentials would be able to come to Alpharetta, say, I am qualified to do this, here's my application to do this in Alpharetta. And then anybody who needs inspections would be able to use that particular provider to perform their inspections. But they wouldn't be able to use someone who had not come in and pre-qualified with us.
So we have to approve this pre-qualification?
Right, and that just means that they hold the various certifications that tell Alpharetta that they're qualified to do it.
I'm just questioning how it happened if we didn't have the pre-qualification process in place already. Was it a one-off that we just said, okay, fine, you can do this?
So the way that state law is framed, we're required to accept third-party inspections. So without this ordinance, then we would have to accept the inspections, and we would be reviewing the particular individual's credentials every single time. And so
Okay,
this streamlines it.
Once again, for clarity, without this, anybody could come in and do it. With this, we have to pre-qualify them. This gives us the power to say, just because you think you have the credentials, we're not allowing you to do it. You have to go through our process.
In part, but I think Kathy's department, if they got an inspection report from someone who had not pre-qualified, they would be vetting them anyway and would say, if I came in and said, here, Kathy, I've inspected this building, she's going to say, well, Molly, show me your credentials, and I wouldn't be able to. So yes and no.
Yeah, we want to have a system in place. So we have that list where we have pre-qualified different inspectors, and they can apply, and we can go through those qualifications and add them to the list.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady?
I'm more curious about the mechanical process, because there's third-party inspectors today. We got concrete, lumber, structural, engineering. They all work in concert with the city of Alpharetta. I'm more just curious, I guess, in doing this is the mechanical piece is what authority do they actually hold? So you have third-party kind of out there, and they find something wrong with the project, do they have the power to be able to shut down a project right there? Does city have to come out after them and kind of check their work, or just that authority part? You know,
Sure.
that could take aggressive either way, or the lack of. So.
And they cannot issue a certificate of occupancy. They cannot issue a stop work order. They also cannot hire a third-party inspector for erosion control violations, land disturbance, nor can they hire him for the fire inspections. So this would just be for the building inspections. So they don't have that power to issue the certificate of occupancy. They are required by this ordinance to present all of the inspection reports prior to the certificate of occupancy, and our building official has 2 days to review those and actually issue if they have to respond to them and say there's a deficiency or everything is in order. We also have the right by the state law to inspect the site if we do think that it's deficient.
So just one more curious kind of question there. So and take this more situational, hypothetical. Inspector, third-party inspector comes out and doesn't find something wrong, you know, that should have been identified. And then what recourse do we kind of take? I mean, just from an insurance, a risk kind of allocation there is it's not found, and a year later or 6 months later, you find an issue. And then do I have the recourse to go sue that person for not finding that, or is it city of Alpharetta? How does that risk litigation or?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they are required to carry insurance. Okay. So there are requirements for the third-party inspector to carry that insurance, and there's also suspension for infractions. So if they do submit, you know, a fraudulent report, or they do not inspect properly, there's suspension for 7 days. If there's multiple infractions, then there's 30 days, and it can go on to up to a year. So there's multiple requirements in there for the third-party inspector.
Thank you.
And then also what's good about this ordinance is it actually sets up the procedure for appeals. So if there is an appeal, if there is an issue, if we have suspended a third-party inspector, the appeal process will be the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Any other questions? Councilman Mitchell.
Kathy, how did this come about from the state? Is this the builders lobbying that brought this one forward as well?
That's what our understanding, and I think at some cities were not able to meet the 2-day turnaround. So I can imagine that if you can't meet the 2-day turnaround for an inspection and you're about to pour concrete, that can be a big problem. We haven't had those issues. We've been able to meet those 2-day turnarounds. I've also heard that some cities, it could be 18 months before you receive a permit, land disturbance permit. So I think that was in order to protect some of those cities that were not able to meet the timeframes.
So the way it's set up, most building inspections throughout the state, it's similar. Is that? I mean, we may have some specific guidelines that other cities may or may not have. Is that?
That's correct. And we, you know, although the short-term rental was very much curated for the city of Alpharetta, you know, different situations that we have, this is actually an ordinance that's been adopted by surrounding cities, counties. It's more of a basic ordinance that we're adopting.
But as I understand it, from what Councilman Brady was asking, we're still liable if that inspector does a poor job and it gets passed.
No, we're not. We're not liable when we do the inspections, nor are we when the third party. But they have insurance, and they actually have to name the city also as part of the insured.
Okay.
And if I can add, there's actually a specific statutory provision in the State Act that provides for immunity to the city and its officials for any action or inaction by inspectors or plan reviewers pursuant to the State Act.
Okay.
Now, you know, what happens between that third party and the person that hired them, that would be separate, but we would not be part of any kind of liability.
Okay. So it could actually help our department, your department.
It could. I mean, it's
during busy times.
We believe that, of course, we're going to be able to provide the inspections, but we want to make sure that we meet state law and that we have regulations in place in case a developer chooses those.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hydes.
Director Cook, I understand why it's before council. I'm troubled by the substance of the ordinance itself, but I didn't realize until Councilman Brady's question, we are still, as a city, going to issue a certificate of occupancy for any residential commercial building.
Yes.
And traditionally, the department who goes out and does the building inspections and passes those inspections, it's the culmination of all those past inspections that leads up to the CO, correct?
That's correct.
And in this case, you're going to have an open structure for the electrical inspection and an open structure for the plumbing inspection, and you're going to have an open, and then it's going to get covered up, and by the time the CO gets issued, there's nothing for us to look at. So we'll have inspection reports, and we're going to put our name on a CO based on past building inspections from third-party inspectors, but we won't be seeing what's been passed.
Again, this is, this isn't a regulation that we're putting in place. We're just following the state law. But it does require that an inspection, you have the same inspections that you would have if one of our inspectors
Oh,
was
I get
looking.
that. I get that.
So if you did a footing inspection, you would have to, the inspector would have to submit that within 2 days of the inspection. So we would have that report. And within 2 days, that gives us a chance, if we're not concurring with the results, we can actually go to the site, or we can accept what the third-party inspector provided. So it wouldn't be all at once at the end for the CO?
You've responded to my question/comment. I'm frustrated by the substance of the ordinance. I understand why it's here. And I'm frustrated that there's not a structural professional engineer in here. There's no requirement for anybody to pass structural in this thing.
All the third-party inspectors would have to have the same qualifications that our inspectors have.
I read the ordinance and I read the code section.
And you're correct. There are sometimes when there's a structural engineer that's required, and even we don't have that specialty, so there's a third party that would be used. And we've used third party in the past, but not for entire developments. Say we had a resident that may build a retaining wall that's over 4 feet. Then they find out that they were supposed to have a permit for that, so they have to get a third-party inspector to actually look at the wall, do some core samples, and be able to write a report. But I understand what you're talking about.
Any other questions for Director Cook? Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if there's anyone that would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your chance. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd offer a motion this evening to approve PH-25-02 Unified Development Code Text Amendment, Third-Party Inspections and Plan Review for the first reading.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? Councilman Hypes.
Repeating what I said just a second ago, I understand why this is before council and we need to have procedures in place. I wish I was having this discussion and this vote when this thing was being discussed at the state legislature, because I feel this is an invasion of our autonomy as a city. I think we do things right. We do things the Alpharetta way. And I think outsourcing this when big money gets involved on projects and there's a preset qualified group of inspectors that I do not like the substance of this ordinance, but I understand that we need to have procedures in place. So I just wish the folks at the state level would respect us here at the municipal level a little more and not require us to do these type of things.
Any other discussion? Councilman Mitchell.
I would concur with what Councilman Heights just said. It's nothing more than the State Builders Association and the lobbying groups getting in the hands of our state legislature to pass something like this to try and make it quicker. And you can't make everything as quick as what some builders and or developers want, because what it does is it creates mistakes. Right now, Forsyth County has a bridge that is sinking in because the inspector didn't do a proper job on the concrete. So there you got a multi-million-dollar contractor who has to replace this thing. We don't need this stuff. If I could succeed from the state sometimes with things like this, I would make a motion to do so.
Friendly amendment.
Don't encourage him. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And that one does pass unanimously. So next item up on our agenda this evening will be E-25-01, Angela Krause sign exception. Mr. Woodman, I believe you have the floor on this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item before you is a request for sign exceptions to allow for a second wall sign on a commercial building and to increase the total allowable sign copy area from 65 square feet to just over 294 square feet. I have the location map on the overhead. This property is located at 1565 Mansell Road. This property is 7.37 acres. It's zoned LI Light Industrial. It's developed with a two-story, 24,000 square foot building. This building was formerly occupied by the Atlanta Humane Society. Angela Krause Ford has recently acquired the property as part of an expansion of the car dealership. So this is the north elevation of the building. Let me just take you back real quick to the location map. Angela Krause Ford here. This is the old Humane Society building back here. This building right here sits about 500 feet back from Mansell Road. And this is the north elevation of that building. This sign right here is just under 65 square feet. That is the allowable sign and sign area that is permitted by the sign code for this property. The UDC allows one wall sign per road frontage and 1 square foot of sign area per linear foot of frontage on the road. That building has 65 feet of frontage, so they're allowed one wall sign at 65 square feet. The second additional wall sign that they're requesting is this sign here. That sign is just under 230 square feet. And it's important to note that our UDC prohibits signs exceeding 156 square feet in copy area on a commercial building. So the request for the second wall sign at just under 230 square feet would exceed that prohibition. So we would not, we cannot grant an exception to a prohibited sign. So this exhibit is just, I've got some street views of this property from various locations. I've got a view of this building as you enter in off of Kingswood Place, off of Mansell. So I've got a view here. I've got a view of the building from the intersection of Kingswood and Mansell. And then I have a view of the building from Duke. This is the Lowe's shopping center just off the page. And so from A, looking at the building, this is the view of that former Atlanta Humane Society building. From B, which is the intersection of Kingswood and Mansell, the building sits back behind the tree line here. Can't see it from that view. And then this is the building here. This is that north elevation here. This is the view from Duke. So as you're heading back in towards the Lowe's or the repair center for Angelo Krause Ford at the end of Duke Drive. So you can slightly see the front of the building at this location right here. And then the applicant provided this view straight across from the building from Mansell Road, and you can see it's not visible through the tree line. The sign, the 65 square foot sign that has already been approved for that elevation is a halo lit sign, so it is not internally illuminated. It is halo lit, and the second wall sign is also proposed to be halo lit. We did look at the review criteria for an exception. The condition review criteria number 4 talks about relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purpose or intent of the ordinance. We believe that this request would not cause a substantial detriment to the public. The large size of the property and that large setback almost 500 feet from Mansell Road are the contributing factors for the sign exception. And we do believe that the signage would have limited visibility from Mansell Road. We are recommending, though, if approved, the total copy area of both wall signs would not exceed 156 square feet, which is the max size of a wall sign that is permitted on a commercial building. The applicant did provide a citizen participation report indicating that they did not receive any public comments, and they did show their requests to the community at the December 11th Community Zoning Information Meeting. There were no public comments at that meeting. With that, staff is recommending approval of the applicant's request for sign exceptions, subject to the 3 conditions in the staff report in your packets. And I would like to note that condition number 2, if approved, would limit the total copy area of both wall signs to not exceed 156 square feet as approved by staff. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Mr. Woodman, I've got a question. I recall several years ago, the gentleman who owned the Chevrolet dealership next door had asked us for, in my mind, something very similar. Do you recall what we did when that request came forward, or do you remember the signage, footage?
I don't recall, and it didn't come up in my research. I didn't identify.
I believe I had talked to Director Cook back at that time. Kathy, do you have any recollection of how that compares to what's in front of us today?
I don't know the size that they were requesting, but it was a denial of the Chevrolet.
Right, and that's why I want to make sure that if I'm being fair to both, then we need to have the same standards applied to both.
Right, but I don't know the exact size they were requesting, but it was a denial on the Chevrolet.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Hypes.
Mr. Woodman, what's the unnecessary hardship here?
So with an exception, you can prove either hardship or that it is not, that it would not be a substantial detriment. So I do agree that the argument for hardship is probably pretty weak in this particular case. It is a large property, and the size of the property would be a contributing factor for a hardship, but I do not believe that that's why staff had recommended approval. We had recommended approval simply because we did not believe that it would be a detriment to the public, given that it was set back so far and that it would have would not be limited visibility from Mansell. But that was also subject to no more than 156 total square feet.
Councilman Will.
Michael, are the renderings that I'm seeing here the 264 square feet renderings? So the rendering here, is this what it would look like at 264 square feet?
So this is the 294
294 square
total.
feet, sorry.
Yeah, so this is the 65 square foot sign that staff has already approved. That meets the code. So they're asking for an additional sign at almost 230 square feet.
Okay.
We are not recommending approval of the combined total.
So the challenge I've got is that we have something to vote on that we are clearly not even able to allow them to have, along with renderings that don't represent what the signs would look like if they were done even back to the 156. And because of that, I'm not sure how we can even vote on this. I don't know what it's going to look like, and it's not even within our tolerances to begin with. So, I mean, my opinion is they need to go back to the drawing board and start over, so.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady?
Yeah, just I'm concerned, kind of same kind of argument. So we're limiting it to 156, not the 294, right? Just for clarity.
Correct. That's in condition 2.
I'm kind of going back on the thought process there. Is how do we, we had Maxwell not too long ago come and want to do a sign, and we were very guarded about the size of that, and it had to fit into exactly the standards, and even worried about a light. And then this is what, well, the first request was 4.5 times the size, so now it's 2.5 times the size of the. I'm trying to understand how do we justify that in a precedent or to someone else who asks, why'd you give it to them and not the other? And it's because it's so set back off Mansell. Is that what your idea is? So set back, it's a large box, big parking lot, people can't see it.
That's the reasoning behind our support for the request. And again, it's a conditional support for the request. It's not for the full request that they're making.
I wish we had something in the code that allowed that besides it being so objective. So thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Woodman? Thanks, sir. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hey, Mike Hammond with Apollo Sign, 1238 Logan Circle Northwest, Atlanta 30318. Yeah, so basically what it boils down to, we realize it's a large building and we're asking for a sign that's 3 times what it could be. What it boils down to, these buildings, they like to maintain their branding. I know you guys hear that a lot and it's not always a great reason for getting a sign exception, but strictly because it's such a large parcel and the building, it's going to be set a good distance away. So our fear is if we've got that nice 65 Ford Pro sign that's already been issued, it's not going to be super apparent that it's a service center. I mean, you're going to have people and cars and everything, but it doesn't jump out at you as, hey, directional, come this way. So identification for a service center, and the fact that it sits so far back from Mansell is our other thought. We realized asking for a sign this big, if our storefront was right there at the right of way, would be something. But we just feel like there is no, like you mentioned, a strict hardship, but we also just feel the size of the lot doesn't make this a completely unreasonable request. And I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Councilman Will.
Based on what you've heard up here, having no clue, I'm thinking that you're challenged. Would you be interested in withdrawing this and maybe coming back with a better plan? Or do you want to go ahead and get a vote on it?
I don't think I'm positioned to make that judgment call. I'd have to run that up the ladder based on what gets said here tonight.
Well, you either got to run up the ladder now or we're going to take a vote.
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add to that.
So you want the vote?
I think it's fair to say that he's not in a position to make that call.
I mean, what's the other option? If I'm not in a position to make the call, is the vote the only other option? Excuse me, I'm sorry for the alarm.
I mean, we're going to resolve this somehow
Sure.
tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
we could table it, we could vote against it, we could vote for it.
Sure,
but
sure.
It's a public hearing, so the public's here to hear.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm just not able to help on that front with the.
I understand.
I'm not the guy who
It's an unusual situation.
Sure.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to come speak against this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion this evening to deny E-25-01 Angela Kraus sign exception.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Councilman Hypes to deny the application as outlined in the motion. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I actually went and looked at it. I guess it was Friday. I kept thinking it was this morning. And there's some merit to the fact that it is off the beaten path, that maybe it's considered to be on the campus and not really visible. But I firmly believe that you can put an elite commercial service sign big enough for people on the campus to know which building that is without having to get an exception for 65 more square feet just to put the Ford logo next to it. I think you do one or the other, or you find a way to work within it. So that, plus the applicant didn't think it was important enough to send somebody that had authority to negotiate this. I'm in no position to negotiate at this time either, so I'm not going to support this.
Any discussion? Any other discussion? Councilman Mitchell?
I would have been fine to vote for the 156, but going way beyond that, I'm not supportive of. You know, bring it back sometime and ask for something that's within our zoning and allowable space. Because if we make an exception for this and we didn't make it for one nearby, it's just not fair. I'm all about being fair with the signage, but I also want our businesses to be seen. But if you need something that says service center, then have a smaller space that says service center. You repeated the brand name, you repeated, and if I owned the sign company, I'd do all that too. But it's just a lot to ask. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? I'll just point out a couple of things. For those of you that aren't familiar, I didn't know until I actually had to sit on the dais and decide cases about sign variances. Signs are a constitutional issue, and so that's why we're such a stickler about being consistent. If you see billboards along Georgia 400, that's because a sign ordinance was struck down by a court saying it was an unconstitutional Fulton County law. And so we are very sensitive to making sure that it doesn't have anything to do with the content, not anything to do with anything subjective. We have standards. And like I said a few moments ago, I specifically recall the gentleman who owns the car dealer next door calling me and asking for larger signage. I don't remember if it was what that smaller version of this is or not. But there's no way I'm going to support something that isn't consistent with what we determined with the car dealer next door. So that's my position, and that's why. That being said, all those in favor of this motion to deny, as outlined by Mayor Pro Tem, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. Correct. The denial passed unanimously. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the invitation to bid 25-008 Kimball Bridge Road. That's all I see on my agenda. So, Director Sasevich, I know it has to do with lighting, so please
Here we go,
take
yes.
the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the recommendation of award to NGT Group LLC in the amount of $247,685.13 for the Kimball Bridge Road pedestrian lighting. This is the lighting from North Point Parkway to Northwinds. GDOT opened up the bridge last summer. The CID is in the process of the construction of the gap, which is from the Georgia Power driveway to North Point Parkway. You will start seeing some movement of dirt this week and next week, and that is for the utilities to be relocated. Then once the utilities get relocated, then the contractor will come back, mobilize, and complete the project. So this work will take place after all that. The contractor has informed us there's about a 40-week lead on some of the equipment that they need for these lights. So we're recommending award now, moving forward, so we reserve the pricing. The contractor's been informed that the work still has to be accomplished by the contractor for CID. So once they're clear, our contractor will come in afterwards. So it's still going to be a bit, but we are holding on to the dollars that we have.
All right, sir. Any questions from council? Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if you'd like to come forward and speak on this item, now's your chance. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Do we have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the invitation to bid 25-008 Kimball Bridge Road pedestrian lighting in an amount not to exceed $247,685.13.
Have a motion by Councilman Mitchell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve as outlined in Councilman Mitchell's motion, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Thank you, Pete. We appreciate you getting that wrapped up. So next item on our agenda is the resolution and interlocal agreement, MOU for 2024 JAG grant. Ms. Eswine?
A resolution by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, approving the submission of the 2022 Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant, JAG.
Director Robinson, you have the floor.
Good evening. Pretty much what she said. But ultimately, this is a JAG grant that we are able to apply for. Atlanta applies for all the cities in Fulton County, and then it's divided up. And as you see there, our amount is $13,927. So we're asking that for approval to enter into a resolution of an interlocal agreement between us and the City of Atlanta so that we can receive that grant.
Any questions for Director Robinson? Bless you. Seeing no questions, Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your opportunity. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. We'll have a motion from council.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the interlock agreement between the City of Atlanta and the City of Alpharetta for the 2024 Byrne Justice Assistance Program, JAG, Program Award, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Have a motion by Councilman Will, a second by Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? I'll note for the record that Councilman Mitchell is no longer with us right now, so he must have walked out. Do you? It's probably easier to wait for him then. You can vote for the motion for the JAG grant or opposed. Please vote. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move on to the next item, the Emergency Medical Response Oversight Board.
And Mr. Mayor, there's actually a resolution on this one, so I'm going to read it before Chris introduces. So a resolution by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to authorize the adoption of the bylaws of the North Fulton Emergency Medical Response Oversight Committee, MROC, and authorizing the Mayor and the City Administrator to execute the same.
Thank you, Ms. Eswine.
Great, Mayor and Council. Yeah, thank you. And the chief would certainly be as capable of presenting this as I am, probably even better. But what you're presented tonight is a resolution that would adopt bylaws to reform a group that existed some time ago called the Emergency Medical Response Oversight Committee. This same set of bylaws will be considered by all 5 cities in North Fulton County. The same document. As you all can recall, we entered into a contract with an ambulance provider for transport services, EMS transport services. And when we had that opportunity previously in North Fulton County, we established this group, which was the oversight group, largely comprised of the fire chiefs, to be able to manage and set some parameters around managing the response times and the guidelines that are in that contract. These bylaws do just that. They set the organization in place. They create for the structure of meetings, how meetings can be called, what constitutes a quorum, et cetera, what bylaws typically do. So this would be the group that if we adopt it, as well as the other cities, and we all need to go back through the process of doing it, because as you recall, we brought Sandy Springs into the mix, and they weren't in the mix before. So it was just easier to clean this up in a new presentation. And that's really all this item does. So would seek your approval.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Lagerblum on this?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just take it one step further. The city attorney and I noticed today, if you go to the backup, that the numbering is off in the bylaws, and everything that should be Article 3 is numbered as a 4, and everything in Article 4 is numbered as a 3. So my guess is they just swapped order at some point, but they didn't swap the numbers. So if there is a motion made to approve, we'd ask that there also just be the authority to correct the numbering. None of the substance of the document would change, just the numbering. Thank you.
Everyone clear on that? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lagerblum. I know this was a long process. I appreciate the effort you put into this. It's very important because this is literally life or death in providing these services to our community and our neighboring communities. So I appreciate the efforts. I know how hard it was for you. That many entities and an ambulance service to be able to come to an agreement. I'm glad I wasn't involved directly. That being said, all those in favor of the motion? Oh, Councilman Will, my apologies.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the creation of the Emergency Management Response Oversight Committee and adopt the bylaws with the cities of Johns Creek, Milton, Roswell, and Sandy Springs, along with the authority to change the incorrect numbering within the document.
We have a second by Councilman Brady, motion by Councilman Will. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, there's also no public comment cards for this item.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. Is there anyone that wants to come up here before we take a vote? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. All those in favor of the motion to approve as outlined by Councilman Will, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move right on to the next item, which is the ratification of the purchase award for the Greenway washout. Director Rogers, it looks like you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As always, it's a pleasure to be with the group tonight. The first item that I'm presenting tonight is we are asking for approval of the ratification of a purchase order, basically in arrears for the emergency repair at Big Creek. If you remember back in September the 27th when Hurricane Helena came through, thankfully it did not do as much damage as we had anticipated, but one of the areas that was really hit hard was the Greenway. We had a huge tree right near Webb Bridge where they're building the construction fall into the creek, and it took a good bit of dirt with it. And what happens is that the creek comes in behind that dirt ball and starts swirling and starts eating the bank away. You can see from the pictures that were part of the packet that it is actually underneath the Greenway a little bit. So we got three. We used, in the past, we've had two other times in 2016 and 2018 where this has occurred. We used what we call a Gabion wall method. We got three proposals for that, to repair that. The lowest was Steel and Construction, Steel and Associates at $85,905. After consultation with City Administrator Chris Lagerblum, we thought it was best to go ahead and get that repair done. So he gave authorization to go ahead and get that done. The work is currently underway. The good news is the tree is out of the creek, and the earth has been put back. So tonight we're asking for ratification of that particular purchase order. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Director Rogers, I don't have any questions, but I do want to explain to our council why this occurred. He outlined the details of it. Mr. Lagerblum came to me and said, look, what do you think? Is this more important to get done for the safety of our community and allow access or not? I asked him what the bids were because I wanted to make sure they were close. We got the low bid. it was within a few thousand, 2,000, 3,000, I believe it was. And I said, I think given the closeness of those bids, that it would be worthwhile to go ahead and move forward. And that's why we're doing this after the work's already begun. So I just wanted to explain that to everybody. That being said, if you have any other questions for Director Rogers, feel free. Thank you, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if there's anyone here who'd like to speak on this item, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion that council approve ratification of a purchase approval to Steele and Associates for repair of the Greenway washout and authorize mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Heights to approve and a second by Councilman Will. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the motion as outlined by Councilman Heights, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Next items up will be the Partnered Athletic Associations Annual Facilities Use Agreements. Councilman. Director Rogers, you've been promoted.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're asking for consideration tonight of approval for the renewal of the annual agreements with our three of our partnered athletic associations, being the Alpharetta Ambush, the Alpharetta Youth Softball, Girls Softball, and the Alpharetta Youth Baseball Association. These are the annual agreements that come before this group every year so that these associations can conduct the programs that they do in the locations they do. Part of your packet, there was a copy of each of those association agreements. They are all the same except for the addendums that are on there. The addendums point out any MOUs that we have with visiting with adjoining cities, how that is handled, and what their schedule and what their time allotment is in that agreement. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody may have about any of the individual groups, associations, or the process.
Any questions for Director Rogers? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward, now's your opportunity to speak on this item. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I ask that council approve renewal of the annual agreements as partnered athletic associations with between the City of Alpharetta's Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Services Department and its agreement with Alpharetta Ambush Youth Soccer Club, Inc., and agreement with Alpharetta Youth Baseball Association, Inc., and its agreement with Alpharetta Youth Girls Softball Association, Inc., and its agreement with Alpharetta Phoenix Rugby, Inc.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion by Councilman Heights. Do we have a second? Second. Have a second by Councilman Will. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve as outlined by Councilman Heights, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly.
And Mr. Mayor, before we close the vote, I did want to point out that the Phoenix Rugby was removed from the agenda and packet earlier this afternoon. So that agreement,
I'm glad you pointed that out. I did not notice that.
Yes, that organization, I believe, and Director Rogers can speak to this if needed, that organization has decided to not move forward with an agreement.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would. The Rugby Association was only approved last year. That was their first year, and they didn't have the turnout last year that they want. And right now, moving into this next season, they only had 10 players, so they asked for to pull that, kind of regroup and move forward. So we tried. It just didn't take.
Well, I'm glad you had let us know that. I did not notice that the agenda I looked at earlier today did not include that removal. So
no worries.
Thank you for clarifying. And I was a little curious how we were going to support a rugby league in Alpharetta, but they
So,
have the
Mr.
opportunity.
Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion that we're voting.
It's not on here, is it?
Yeah, no, but he did say the Phoenix organization, so I think amending his motion is in order.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to amend the motion I just made to restate the motion but exclude the agreement with Alpharetta Phoenix Rugby, Inc.
Motion by Councilman Hypes, second by Councilman Will. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And it is unanimous. So we'll move on to the agreement for the exchange of realty on Old Rucker Road with the Ballettis. So
That's me.
that's back to you, Ms. Eswine. I was looking for who was going to present this.
Yes, so this is an agreement for the exchange of realty. As you may recall, there's a bit of history with this property. The property that is at issue is located on Old Rucker Road, at 840 Old Rucker Road specifically. The city has a parcel with some fencing on it adjacent to our park, and the adjacent property owner actually owns where the fencing is. Conversely, the city's owned property actually has a propane tank on it, and so this is simply a swap of property in order to clean up the title issues. And so we had the property surveyed and appraised so that it came out where what the city would be transferring is of equal value to what the city would be acquiring and vice versa, which is consistent with state law. This agreement contemplates a 90-day due diligence period, at which time we have to have an environmental report completed and otherwise provide notice to the public in accordance with state law for property swaps. And then 90 days from the execution of the agreement, which would be today, we would be having the closing of the agreement and of the sale, the land swap, where we would take title to the property via quitclaim deeds and dispose of the city's property in the same manner. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Eswine? I don't have any questions. I just appreciate your efforts, and Mr. Lagerblum, and even James Drinkard when he was here trying to resolve this, because it was a difficult issue just because of state laws requiring a fair exchange and exact exchange between two people, or between a city and private organization, private property owner. So that being said, Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comments?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak about this item, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Motion to approve agreement for exchange of realty of 840 and 850 Old Rucker Road as presented this evening.
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, a second by Councilman Mitchell. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes, otherwise vote accordingly. And it does pass unanimously. So that'll wrap up the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. And now we come to public comment. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if there's anything you'd like to say, now is your opportunity. Seeing none? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Reports. Councilman Will.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make two reports tonight. The first one is, and most people don't know this, but January is Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. And unfortunately, we did just lose one of our firefighters recently. His name was Sean Webster. He was a fire apparatus engineer with us, which means he was a driver. So I just wanted to recognize Sean Webster. Secondarily, I'll throw also in that I'm proud of the city. I think it was last year we passed our annual firefighter cancer screening testing that we do, because firefighters do have a higher rate of cancer than other professions because of what they do. And City of Alpharetta did move forward with a program to test them specifically for that. So I was proud of Alpharetta for doing that. So that was my first report. Secondarily, just as a interesting one, I believe it was Friday night, we did have a report from Avalon that we had a massive car break-ins. And our officers jumped on the case, set up a perimeter, brought the dogs out, and Maverick found the folks that were breaking into the cars. We did get them apprehended, and they did get to go to jail. So our police force did a good job. So good job, guys. It was, by the way, it was K9 Maverick, and I think it was Officer Janky. Is that how you pronounce it? Or Jank? Jonky, Officer Jonky and Maverick. So good job, guys. Those are my reports.
Thank you, Mayor. We live in a really special community, and we do really special things, and I'm really proud of the facilities that we have in our park system, and including Wills Park and the Wills Park Pool. And this coming Saturday will be the annual Alpharetta Polar Bear Plunge. And it's a great melding of community input with city facilities for the good of our community. And I just pulled it up on the website right now. Sitting here right now, there's $188,000 that have been raised that will go into various charities, most of which are here in the Alpharetta area or immediate area. And this is just, this is a reflection of the health of our community. And we have a very, very healthy community. And we may have a few of us that have a cold after we jump into the cold water on Saturday, including the mayor who jumps every year. But I just wanted to brag on our city and our facilities that make these things happen.
Mayor Pro Tem Merkel.
Yeah, just Brian was close to it. I thought he was going to hit at the end. We did lose Officer Sean Webster. He retired early because of the disease hitting him as fast as it did. That being said, his funeral service is going to be the morning of February 8th, and for that reason, and in his honor, the Public Safety Department has decided to postpone the chili cook-off. So a new date will be announced for that. I don't think it's been thrown out there yet. So, I'm sorry?
We did today, decided March 1st.
All right, there you go, right from the captain's mouth, March 1st.
Any other reports? Well, I have to add this one. It's been a little while now, but for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to attend St. James United Methodist Church of Alpharetta's historic Martin Luther King Day celebrations, it's always a very powerful and uplifting event when our community comes together to celebrate the life of a man who changed our world for the better, not to mention our community right here. But this one, I've had the honor to be to numerous, and I have to tell you, my goodness, if you missed it, I'm sorry you weren't there. We had a guest pastor, Reverend Felder, I believe it was, from New Birth Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois, and he was powerful, man. I mean, it had the house rocking, and everybody, all the other pastors that were there. I was on the front row, and I mean, it was just a moving, powerful, spiritually, in reinforcing the life of Dr. King and what a community can do. It was really fantastic. I don't know if St. James has put the video up on. I encourage you, if you want to smile, watch that man's sermon. You can ignore anything I said or maybe some of the other speakers, but if you get the opportunity, come tell me what you thought. It was just fantastic. And we had a great turnout, even in bitterly cold weather. It was just a really fine day, and I'm grateful to have partners and organizations like St. James in our community. That being said, I have no other reports. Do we find an executive session necessary this evening?
So what we talked about this morning, that law firm got to the right answer without us having to talk about it. So we do not have a need tonight.
Excellent, excellent. So I guess all we have to do is call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mitchell, second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? Any public comment? Okay, just in case y'all wanted us to stick around. Seeing no public comment, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you next time.